Hey, happy Friday, everyone. This is Snaps. This is what we're going to do every single Friday. We got my guy Collin Wilson from the Action Network joining us here. He hosts the Big Bets on Campus, like the BBOC, Big Bets on Campus podcast. I like what his producer's written up here. A two-time graduate of Arkansas and what I'd consider to be a deranged booster who has actually moved back to the Fayetteville area recently. Collin, what's going on, man? Thank you so much for being here.
I'm thanks for having me on Snaps, and I have to thank my audio producer for writing up that. I mean, literally, I tried to walk on in '95, and Danny Ford's like, "You're too small. You're not fast. You're slow. You're kind of fat." And I was like, "Okay, I'm going to go down to the engineering building and get my degree." So, no, I was never good enough to play.
Oh, okay. So now the pieces are coming together, though, Collin, because so engineering degree is not lost on me because I believe you have, in the same vein as a Connolly or some of these other guys, have you created your own analytical system for trying to kind of rank and figure out these teams and how they're going to perform?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my career all started back over 10 years ago when Connolly started producing what is the Bible of 5 factors. I said to myself, we need to apply that to gambling analytics. And if we can apply some of those and see what covers the spread the most, forget about who wins the game. Let's talk about who's covering the spread because I need garbage time. Garbage time is where bets are decided. And so, we've made a career over at Action Network just building advanced stats and trying to figure out the magical key of college football. How do you determine winners? And there's a couple of stats out there that really tell the story.
Okay, how's the beginning of this season going for you? How hard is it to judge a team week 1 and 2 because of the portal now?
Well, it's almost impossible, right? I mean, with Colorado, I've adjusted them more than 13 points in a power rating because it's impossible. When you have over 50 transfers, yeah, sure, they came from Jackson State, but how do you know exactly the kind of talent, how that translates to the Power 5 level? The transfer portal has made it almost impossible to guess where these teams come in. And now that, Dion has had success, Aaron, I feel like a lot of programs are going to be like, just wipe the slate clean, give me 50 new players. I don't care if they're from North Dakota State, bring them in.
I just feel like for betting, for betting purposes, it's just so hard to gamble on college sports the first two weeks of the season. Even like this week too, like no one's played anyone, so you really just don't know what these teams truly are until I would say week 4 or 5.
And then once you figure out their identity and you think you have it down, now I have cashed on Colorado 2 weeks in a row because I just don't think that perception caught up with what they are, but. Like I had West Virginia in week 1 and Neil Brown doesn't call a timeout. So James Franklin decides he's going to put on another score. Last week, Tulane should have covered, lost only by 3, but Lane ends up covering like double digits. That stuff you can't avoid. It puts that, gets the veins pumping when that happens to you.
So this is kind of fascinating because you're telling me that, so it is again, this is not who's going to win. This is who's going to cover. Right. And so weekends like this are still just as interesting or maybe even better for, like you said, like you're trying to math out garbage time. And there seems to be plenty of it this weekend. What are the most important factors to when it comes to, okay, I think this team is going to cover this big number even when it doesn't matter?
Yeah, the biggest thing that people don't realize is I wrote a story at Action Network over the summer, and it's kind of like no one's paying attention because it's around the 4th of July, but I write it every year and update it. What are the most important stats that correlate to covering tickets? Crazy enough, 65% of bets cover if you take the team with better finishing drives. And finishing drives is how many times did I get a drive past the 40-yard line and how many points did I get from that scoring opportunity? If you bet alone just based on finishing drives, 65% winners. So it's like I can make my own power ratings. Everybody can say their opinions, but it comes down to, are you cashing in on your money spots?
Okay, and then what about Colorado? Because okay, so you look at your power ratings, and that's something that people are gonna be like, "Roar! Colorado at 44. What the fuck, Collin? What's wrong with you?"
Man, I tell you, Colorado's a lightning bolt for anyone to make fun of you. If you go out on a limb and try to guess what, but I really know what they are. I mean, I saw their identity in week 1. It played out against Nebraska. They're terrible at rushing the ball. They are terrible in standard downs, but once they get to passing downs and Shedeur can get back there and scramble, they've been the gods of passing downs. Like their average distance on third downs, 11 yards. They're converting half their third downs. They only thrive when their backs are up against the wall. And defensively, they're kind of bad on defense too, but they've had some real key havoc moments for turnovers, interceptions, and it led them to 2 wins.
Oh man, everything just tastes a little sweeter. The air smells a little better. Energy's a little greater. And it's all because football is back and in full swing with another week of epic games. And can you guess who's got you covered on all the action for every single one of those games? That's right. You already know, the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Okay. An official betting partner of the NFL. And once again, right now, new customers can bet just $5 on football and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. If you're signing up for the draft, you have the first time promo code TBOB. You bet $5 on football, you get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Are you kidding me, guys? But it's not just the new customers, okay? Nobody misses out with DraftKings. In fact, all DraftKings customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every single game day this September. Just get on the app and check them out. So get in on the NFL Week 2 action with DraftKings Sportsbook app. Download the app now using the promo code TBOB, TBOB, to sign up, and you can take advantage of that incredible new customer deal, bet $5 and take home $200 in bonus bets instantly. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with promo code TBOB, TBOB. The crown is yours.
All right, Texas, you have them at your number 2 team in the power ratings. Do they have enough to make it, not even just make it, but win a national championship?
So the question really is, has the talent gap closed with Georgia? Because that was the big thing last year. Like, who has the talent to hang with Georgia? Are they that close? I think they are in the trench from a defensive line, offensive line perspective. I think they're there. Now, can they hang on the outside? Listen, A.D. Mitchell was just as good at Georgia as he is now. Xavier Worthy is that good. Can the defense from a secondary perspective kind of lock down teams to do that? I think so. We've seen it. You have to be physical to go into Tuscaloosa, push them around and win that game the way they did, especially milking clock for 5 minutes to end that game, forcing Saban to call all 3 of his timeouts. Yeah. I don't think we should question Texas. I think that they are at least within 7 points of Georgia if they were to play each other head to head right now.
I learned that lesson the hard way. I got a lot of good return on investment for shitting on Texas for years, and eventually it had to end. All right, Collin. Well, I'm immediately now way more excited about this segment than I was even to begin with, because you're obviously got a wealth of knowledge. You're an expert here. And so what we're going to do is me and Aaron are going to give you a couple of our picks. I feel a bit vulnerable now, though, Aaron, don't you? I feel like I feel a little insecure. Yeah, I know, but like an actual expert. So we'll give you a couple of our picks. You judge them, and then you're going to give us your plays. Aaron, I'll let you start. Go ahead.
All right. I'm gonna go. I gotta throw one for my Georgia Bulldogs to get things going. Georgia USC under 54.5.
Ooh, under. So you're Georgia's been sleepwalking this year. I think it's a thing where last year we asked, I think Kent State held them to a halftime. Wasn't there a game against Kent State where they were just sleepwalking the whole time?
Yeah.
And I think the score might have been tied at half.
Yeah.
So the same thing is happening again. But the good thing is I think the numbers from Carson Beck have been fantastic.
Oh yeah.
And I just think it's a thing where they're just going to flip the switch, or maybe Kirby maybe he hasn't convinced them yet that they're underdogs to everybody like he always does. Right. Georgia has the talent to beat everybody by 2 touchdowns. I think what you're asking is, will South Carolina score? Considering South Carolina is the worst in the nation in what's called havoc allowed, they can't control the line of scrimmage. Everybody gets tackles for loss. Spencer Rattler throws it to. My question is, Aaron, you're basing your bet on, will South Carolina score? I think the answer is no. So I think you're under 54 is good.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, Colin, we said yesterday on the show that what's going to happen to Spencer Rattler Saturday is kind of akin to a public execution. Just thousands of people showing up to watch this poor man just get torn apart.
He was signing autographs in the Tulsa Woodland Hills Mall for $150 3 years ago. Man, life has just passed him by.
Hey, but he's playing well though. He's like T-Bob said yesterday. He's got some good stats for.
He's got good numbers. He's got good numbers for sure. Yeah. Okay, here I'll give you my first one here. God, I feel so insecure about this now. Because my thought processes are so much more shallow. I'm looking at the spreads. Okay, I see Minnesota going to UNC. And I feel like North Carolina is a little weird to trust. They just played the game against App State with OT, but I just can't get a single thing out of my head, which is Callie McManus versus Drake May. and I like PJ Fleck, everything he's built in Minnesota, but Drake May at home, going into Ethan Kaliakmanis, I just got to imagine here that I like UNC to cover the 7.5.
I do like that too, because Minnesota is searching for an identity. Like Ethan Kaliakmanis absolutely can throw the ball down the field, and they have explosive targets. We saw that out of Daniel Jackson against Nebraska in week 0, right? But they won't commit to that. They're still kind of trying to find themselves on the running game. But most importantly, this may be the worst offensive line and defensive line that the trench has been since PJ has been there. So absolutely, I'm going to roll with you on North Carolina and Drake May. And this team is pissed, by the way. Like they're not going to, I mean, everybody thinks they're going to let Tez play until NCAA, like, screw you guys, we're going to let it, but they're not, and they're upset about it. And I think there's going to be a chip on their shoulder this weekend.
All right. My second one, Kansas State going to Missouri. And I think this is like one of those lines that people are like, how is Kansas State only a 3.5 point favorite in this football game,
right?
Especially with the outcome of what it was last year. But Missouri's inability to run the football. I know a lot of people are buying it because of, hey, Missouri kept it close versus Georgia last year. I think Kansas State kind of rolls right through them. Am I crazy to think that?
I don't know if you've locked any money in on it, but you might want to wait because that number is dropping like crazy. People like me want to buy Missouri pretty bad. I'm not going to buy it at 3.5. I'm not going to buy it at 4. I may end up playing it live. But my question is what is Kirby Moore took over as offensive coordinator? He comes in from Fresno State. He preached all the time there's going to be a balanced offense. We're going to try to make it look like Fresno State. And Drink was hands off. He's like, Kirby's the one calling all the shots. Well, this Missouri offense has run 66% of the time on snaps. Like, why are you running the ball so much the first 2 weeks when you're supposed to have a balanced approach? And you have Luther Burden. Like, Brady Cook is like, his ADOT right now is like, 5 yards? You have Luther Burden, who hasn't challenged anybody. So has Drink and Kirby Moore purposely kept all this passing game off tape for this game to go up against a Kansas State secondary that is a little bit questionable? You're not going to run into the teeth of the Kansas State trench. You're going to throw against them. So it's a complete unknown, and me betting on Missouri is blind faith. You betting on Kansas State is based on stats from the last 2 weeks, which are, I mean, we both have a good point, but I'm going Missouri.
So, okay, there we go. And good shit, Collin. Okay, so my I'm torn between two. I'm gonna go with one that is probably flawed because, again, the logic is flawed, right? And it's the law of transitive sports properties. I saw Boston College look awful against Northern Illinois. I saw FSU look awesome through 2 weeks. Yes, they're going to BC. Yes, they're both in the ACC. I've locked in all of these, but feel free to tell me I'm wrong no matter what. FSU minus the 26 going to Boston College.
That's a good number, and I wouldn't be surprised if it dropped a little bit. It's dropping because of the hurricane, the remnants of Hurricane Lee are coming in. They expect this game to be, tons of rain, 20-mile-an-hour winds going on. Is Boston College going to score? Like, I don't know if everybody knows, like, there's a huge weather situation going on up there.
No, I had no idea.
They look at the weather. We don't look at the weather.
Colin's got it all figured out.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you follow me on the Action app, like, it's Sunday night. Everybody's enjoying Sunday Night Football in the NFL, and I'm pounding, like, unders and overs in the app because it's like, I know there's a hurricane coming. I know that there's storms, like, 6 days in advance, and people don't catch up to that till, like, Friday. Wow. So – but with this one, there's going to be
in that game. What's the over under in that game?
It's dropping like we could do a quick spot check, but
48 now.
Yeah, 48. I see a 47.5. 48's a big key. So it's I mean, so what you're asking with Florida State is to cover a huge number with a low total and some really bad weather. Now, can Florida State dominate running the ball? Of course. Can they dominate with that front seven? Of course. I think the game lands, and you know what? I if you guys want to give me a prop or whatever, you want to make this like 20-1 odds, I think the game lands directly on 31-3. So
wow. Okay, so there we go. So that is a call in the shot roulette on the dot. 31-3 FSU over BC. Like, I'd be pumped, dude. I'd be pumped. That worked out great for me. Hell yeah, man. All right, Kyle, give us in your best plays of the weekend.
It's an ugly card, so let's get some ugly teams out there. Northern Illinois is heading to a Nebraska team that is one-dimensional, can only run the ball, and can only defend the run. And plus, Jeff Sims may not even be playing. He's hurt right now. Is that a good or a bad thing? Listen,
I'm not saying. I don't know.
I mean, the guy can burst for 60 yards, but he can fumble 3 times. So good or bad, he won't be there. But the offense is not tailored for their backups. So I'm going to go with Northern Illinois. I'm going to take all those points out there. And I think Florida wins outright. I've said this a billion times. Maybe a subject for my 2 SEC quarterbacks here next week. I have serious problems with Joe Milton in a stretch RPO spread offense of Josh Heupel that requires timing, because Josh Heupel's offense is all about 3 steps down the field. The wide receiver makes his options on his route. He picks one, and then Milton has to deliver it right on his face mask. That's Hendon Hooker football. That's not real Joe Milton football. So I think everyone will be, we'll see that with Florida this weekend. Florida should dominate them in the trench. So I'm going to take
I have the under for Florida, Tennessee. It's 58.5 right now. I think that's going to be a low scoring football game.
Well, Aaron, look what your Georgia Bulldogs did to Tennessee last year. Like, Kirby's like, we're going to come up to the line of scrimmage. We're going to jam Hyatt, all the wide receivers, and that's going to get them off these timing routes.
Yeah.
And if you could do that, which Florida can, it's not going to be there down the field.
No. And he's not accurate down the field. He's not accurate down the field.
No.
So a Florida outright dub, a Florida money line play here on week 1 of our sit down with Collin Wilson of the Action Network. By the way, Collin, we technically sell Corn Hub merch because we're Nebraska people, but I don't know. Nobody wants to buy it.
In the room.
It's an awful investment. No one wants it anymore. They look like shit so far. I still think they're going to be good under Matt Rule. Hey, Con, can I get a little bonus brain pick here? I know this will leave you guys. I apologize. So all my family, I'm married into a West Virginia family. They're all from Morgantown. So I love West Virginia. I loathe what Neil Brown and the leadership of West Virginia has done to that program. I see Pittsburgh getting 1 on the road in Morgantown, and my brain just like, Pat Narduzzi, Neil Brown, F it. Let's go Narduzzi. I got Pitt. Who do you like there? Backdoor brawl.
The number is right. The number is correct. But the problem is I think West Virginia is better in the trench, especially from a running perspective. With Garrett Green and with CJ Donaldson, those guys can absolutely own the line of scrimmage. And that's going to be a problem for Pitt. They just had struggles last week with the same thing.
There you go. Fuck it. Hey, Collin, this was awesome, man. I'm so excited to do this throughout the year. You go follow Collin at _ Collin1, and that's 2 L's in there. And we'll obviously link everything where you can find all of his work. I can't wait to dive into your system, to read all this, explore all this, man. Okay, how about this? Does it change the Sharps mindset when Jay Norvell comes out here and makes it personal with Coach Prime?
You don't want to poke the bear, right? It's not like you showed anything during Washington State that says your defense is going to be able to stop Shedeur Sanders or listen, Colorado State does have weapons on the outside. This Justice Ross Simmons, Torrey Horton, they can absolutely get down the field, and they're going to show that in this game. They're going to be able to hang at the 22-point level. Now, you did piss Dion off. So what does that mean? He's not going to take knees. He's not going to let up. He'll kick field goals in the fourth quarter. If he's up by 25, he's going to try to cover that spread. What you did is you made that coach realize that he's going to cover the spread and pay off all his alumni. You didn't want to poke him. He was supposed to be looking ahead to Oregon and USC, and now you've got his full attention. Why would you do that, Jay Norvell?
Oh, it's so crazy. Collin, thank you so much, man. Check out Collin, Action Network, all of his work there. This is awesome. So excited to do this all year. And, hey, here's hoping we have a good weekend, boys. We'll see you next week on Snaps.